Cock-a-doodle-doo.
Alrighty, here we are once again in the studio and ready for action. This is episode 7 where we talk about us and what the heck we've been up to because we've been busy. And we're filming this like in the 11th hour right before we need to post this. So it'll be really good content. It might be a little bit shorter, but you folks can let us know how to improve on it, right?
Yeah.
So Andrew, what the heck have you been up to, bro?
Man, I've been up to working on a lot of gourmets, especially a lot of oyster variations, trying to bring some that some people haven't heard of into the mix a little bit. Like there's one called Princess Pearl that we're about to do that doesn't do giant oysters, but it does like hundreds and hundreds on a single pin set. So there's just like a whole lot of them. And the tarragon oysters that I haven't shut up about since I've started growing. Those I have, there's bags colonizing over behind me. It's just, I think that when we started, we had 16 variations. Like it was a lot. And it is including stuff like black pearl oysters that are a hybrid, that kind of stuff too. But still, it's a fair amount of variation. We're also working on those all-in-one bags. I know there's some people that do the active ones out there. We're trying to get some gourmet ones going out.
Nice. And so that's just grain and substrate?
Yeah. Master's Mix and grain. We're layering them just kind of like the other bags you've seen on the market, except this one we're kind of right now trying to stick to as they're ordered, knocking them, just because we want to make sure that how to phrase this. A lot of places will make 300 bags over a couple of days, and then you get the bag and you are forced to fruit them on a production schedule. When the bag is made specifically for you and it is knocked for you, you are fruiting it on its schedule.
Right.
And it's going to have more vigorous growth. It's going to give you more fruits and for longer. You know what I mean? It's just going to work better.
Yeah. So when they do those kits, you think basically it colonizes the entire bag, stalls for a bit, and then you try and fruit it, and so that affects the life of the mushroom.
Yeah, and I've even seen some that have been sold where they're like, just cut an X on the side, and they'll cut an X on the side, and they'll be like mutated fruits growing out the top already inside the bag towards the filter patch. And I'm like, dang, I love the gourmet world, but as far as quality, it really needs a step up. It needs to stop having all this stuff imported from China. It needs to start being done in-house.
Yeah, well, it's like everything else, we need to support our local friends and the people that are struggling here locally. It's nice to be able to have things that are less expensive and be able to buy more, but more of a inferior product is not necessarily better. And I don't know how living organisms can make it here from China and remain sterile. Like mycelium is hard enough to ship through the mail in its various forms and not have it come to someone contaminated.
Yeah, and while there are some gourmets that are more vigorous than say active stuff on plate and stuff, still there's a level where it's just like enough's enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen it. I always thought that well, gosh, gourmets are like bomb proof. You can just go run them and they get a little bit of contamination. Well, maybe they won't grow as big or as well, but yeah, no, it's definitely a fine-tuned machine like anything else. That they can handle a little bit, but they can't handle everything and they can't handle a ton of it.
Yeah, a lot of people laugh because I do my gourmet bags in front of my hood. Like I put my put my grain in and do everything in front of the hood, and they're like, "You don't have to do that, man. You can just
Right.
toss it. It's good. It's fine." And I'm like, I
Gives me
rather
that peace of mind. I can sleep at night knowing that it's sterile.
yeah. And if I've promised something to someone, I don't want to ship something out and
Yeah. It sucks, man. It's money out of your pocket. It's their time and their peace of mind that gets damaged by it, and it's just better to put out as the best thing you can, even if it means you're putting out a little bit less, and get that process down.
quality over quantity, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
What have you?
Anybody can put out a cheap project.
That's true. What have you been up to, man? What have you been busy doing?
Well, I just been trying to market and get sales and get enough sales that I can enjoy my free time. I've been out in the woods hunting with my family. We hunt every year, and this year has just been a really good year. We've been blessed with a lot of animals in front of us, and we put in lots of work for it. But you gotta count on a certain amount of it just being happenstance for when those critters are out. And
Yeah,
so we got lots of meat in the freezer, and we're real happy. And just that, man, I'm just tired though. It's just been a whole month and a half nonstop hiking and hustling, and little tiny bits of sleep, and just trying to keep up with sales and orders. And I'm just glad to be able to do all that, to physically be able to be out there and help my friends and family, and at myself. Of course, it is fun for me. I love being
yeah,
out there. But no, I think a lot of my time has just been focused on not focusing on anything.
yeah. That's kind of how it's been for me as well. As winter starts to come around, foraging slows down a lot, so it's kind of a little bit slower for me. But I'm staying busy working, living life at 15 psi.
Right. Yeah.
It's every day, man. But I do enjoy it. It's given me a lot of structure that I needed in my life, to be honest. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
a good routine exercise.
So, I thought of a cool question to ask you the other day. I've been out doing a lot of foraging, and I see a lot of stuff that grows on the ground or grows on decomposing material like trees.
Yeah.
What's your experience with trying to cultivate things that grow on wood? Can you really grow anything? Are there limits to that? I've seen some of these jelly fungus I tried to clone, and I was just curious, do they grow the same, or are they actually mycorrhizal and they just grow through the wood? Like, what's up with those things?
So it's all of it's on a species to species basis. The crazy thing is, I've actually seen mycorrhizal stuff growing out of wood, but just because it's growing out of wood does not mean that that's necessarily where it's deriving its nutrients from. So,
Right. Could be
like,
growing through it, maybe.
hmm have you ever had a bag that you were growing that had mycelium climb up and then pins would come directly off of the bag?
Right, yeah, like, it's just growing from the mycelium randomly. It's just
hmm
taking the nutrients from wherever the grain below, probably. Yeah.
So, what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of mycorrhizal stuff can still colonize wood. It just doesn't
Interesting.
get its primary nutrients from wood.
Hmm,
So you can have something that's mycorrhizal growing straight out of a piece of wood. I've seen it with morels more than once, especially
interesting.
tulip morels. Um, but so as far as cultivating species that are specifically, woody or saprobic, uh, it's on a species to species basis. One of the ones we're kind of uh, playing with is I don't know if you've heard of an ox tongue mushroom.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
Fistulina. Well, it used to be Fistulina hepatica. Now it's Fistulina americana because that was the European taxon, and now we have our own. But it's one of the best mushrooms you can eat raw. First of
Hmm.
all, you don't have to cook it at all, and it's one of the ones that best imitates meat. Like it
Interesting.
literally
Like
has.
an ox tongue.
Mhm.
Okay.
And those literally just grow on wood, kind of like you would find lion's mane. Like they're just, you know, another wood lover. And so we're playing with that a little bit, but we don't have any data to kind of compare. Okay, how long until they start fruiting? How long do they take to colonize? You know what I mean? It's kind of there's some
Right.
species that they're definitely possible. It's just methodology is a bit of a shot in the dark until we do have more data on it.
Right. That's what I was wondering too, is like, do I even have the right nutrients in a regular plate? You know, like, should I be switching to something else? Should I use a wood broth and try that? Or, in the case of like the jelly, should I take from the mycelium that's on the wood versus the try and clone the fruiting body? We'll see
I
how
would
it goes.
I would make a wood broth specifically out of its host tree if I were
There you
you.
go.
So like jelly fungus, one of the ones they really like is hornbeam. So if you could get some hornbeam, they'll eat that right up.
Hmm. Yeah, most of what we have here, because our forests are farmed, are Douglas fir. Or there are some areas that are, western hemlock and oak, but primarily Douglas fir.
If we're gonna talk about trees, I'm gonna have to get on my soapbox.
Yeah, why is that?
The American chestnut was wiped out in 1903 by a blight.
Oh no.
Well, almost wiped out. In fact, that's that cause, like trying to restore the American chestnut, is one of the reasons I am so deep in foraging, because the people trying to go plant hybridized versions of it that are resistant to the blight are the people that taught me a lot of what I know. Like the
Nice.
more advanced, you can eat this, you can't eat that. Uh, they were called the Castagna Club,
Hmm.
which is the Latin name for the chestnut.
Okay. Okay.
But
Yeah, that's
yeah,
pretty cool.
it's one of my origin stories.
Roasting chestnuts somewhere on an open fire.
Oh, we
I'm
we
not.
definitely are all planning. Like the original members are gonna get a tattoo somewhere and like pretend there's a cult kind of thing.
We don't have real chestnuts here. We have horse chestnuts. And I always wondered because, like, you'd go to the older houses and they'd have them, in
Yeah.
their backyard. It's like, why do you have this thing you can't eat? They even say it's poisonous. Well, I actually learned from a nice reel the other day. You know what they use them for? They break them up and they put them in water, and it creates a natural soap. Use it for laundry soap.
Huh.
And so the reason that they all had one in their backyard and it was close to their house was because they could go and harvest them, and that was a common thing to do. And literally, all you had to do is break them open and put them in water, and the plant fat or whatever's in it leaches out, and it naturally oxidizes.
That's crazy. See, I love little bits of culture like that. That's
Yeah.
like, do the morels live off of privet up there? Like, do they live around the plant privet?
I don't know for sure. So most of the morels that we have are either straight up decomposers, like random. Your
Really?
oh, what do you want to call them? Landscape morels is what we call them because they
Yeah.
grow in the bark dust.
Yeah.
So, like, you'll get a random load of bark dust, and a year later it'll decompose and produce those morels. But we also have, I think they're the Americanas,
Yeah.
like a whitish yellow one. It's brown, it turns white, I think. Uh, but those seem to grow just in the duff in the floodplains. I don't know if they grow next to to that plant or not, because I'm not familiar with it.
Well, here they grow us. They grow underneath a plant called privet, and that's like one of their host plants, kind of like ash trees and some pines. And the reason there's so much privet in the South is because privet is short for privy, and they would plant it around the outhouses to have privacy. So if you were
Oh,
like
okay. I thought
coming
maybe
out
you
of
were gonna say it was for wiping your ass.
well, essentially, it was like back in the day, a lot of people wore like suspenders and that kind of stuff. So you'd walk out of the outhouse, and you kind of had to fix everything outside because it was such a small room. You were kind of like adjusting yourself after you
Right.
got out.
And all you got's like this little half moon cut out of it to light the damn thing. Like it's not
Yeah.
like everybody had electric lights in there. And I don't know how smart it would be to have a candle in there, maybe a lantern.
Boom.
Yeah. Oh, well, guess we don't got to fill in that hole, Marge.
Did you know? You know that that's literally the origin of where the word shit comes from, right?
Uh-uh.
Oh, history lesson. This will be fun. So, when the New World was starting, one of the biggest things that we actually needed was fertilizer. And of course, what does fertilizer give off? Methane
Yeah.
gas.
Oh, yeah.
So, they started shipping it in the bottom of the ship, obviously, to be away from all the human quarters and blah, blah, blah. So, if somebody went down there with a lantern, it would light up the entire thing and pretty much light the ship on fire. So anytime they shipped manure across to the Americas, it would be labeled SHIT, ship high in transit.
Huh.
So that's where that word originally comes from.
Yeah, I thought maybe you were gonna go into like one of those word videos. Like I don't know if you've heard any of those audios or videos on the origins of words and the usefulness of them. Like one of the funniest ones is the definition of fuck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like, and the
Fornicate.
fact that it's literally the most versatile word in the American language, that it can be used as literally every single type of word. And they go through the explanation of how you can use it, and like you can even use it as entirely as the whole sentence, as every word in the sentence. Yeah, if you haven't seen that, folks, look that up on YouTube. That is some funny, funny stuff.
It is pretty fun. I've always found etymology a little bit fascinating too.
Yeah. Oh, I like learning anything, that helps me find the root of things, like I don't know why I've just always been fascinated like how did they do that? Why, like and I think a lot of this stuff is pertinent right now because although we don't call it that, we're living in a modern depression. And a lot of those things were developed during the depression because we supplied our own food, we supplied our own soaps, we did everything ourselves. But yet in this depression, everyone has credit. And so nobody knows how to do that stuff. Like you and me, we go out, we'll get a bunch of stuff, forage it, hunt, we can can it, preserve it, probably more than, a half dozen different ways we can preserve it. And it'll all be tasty.
Well, it kind of all goes back to I was with my friend in the city foraging, and I was literally picking stuff. And they were like, "Oh, you don't have to take that many. It's not like we're apocalypse prepping." And I literally looked around at the city for a moment, and was like, "Picking faster."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, I think being able to preserve stuff like that allows you to kind of have more excitement and more fun, because you can keep collecting them, and you're like, yeah, I get 100 morels. Yeah, all right, I'm gonna eat them all too.
Yeah, yeah. Have I told you about that?
I don't think
Sadly,
so.
I cannot eat morels.
Oh, really? Because of the whatever's toxic in them is more
Yeah, I
on you.
there's been a couple of times that I've just been like, it's worth it, and like eating them anyway. But it's like a 3 day thing for me after. Like my
Oh
stomach is
man,
wrecked.
that's terrible. Yeah, I imagine there's plenty of other fungus that you can eat that
Oh
It's
yeah.
just kind of uh, I don't know what you want to call it, a fantasy thing, because everybody else is like, "Oh, these are so good, you gotta have them." And they are good, but like the way I cook them, they just taste like whatever I cook it.
Yeah.
I'm putting them in with steak and uh, garlic and salting them up, battering them up, and frying them up.
Honestly, my favorite mushroom I've ever eaten was a bolete.
Yeah, like a king or what?
It's have you heard of the Tyleopilus genus?
Uh-uh.
It's the bitter purple ones.
Uh-huh.
The pale purple bitter bolete is in the Tyleopilus genus, but the one that I like, as soon as I say what it is, you're gonna be like, "Yeah, you've talked about this one a lot." The the black velvet bolete.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me because
It's
I was very intrigued by it.
if you ever see it, you'll know it instantaneously. The moment you see it, you're gonna be like, "Yeah, that's no doubt. That's exactly that species."
Huh.
Because it literally looks like someone stretched velvet over the cap. Like it's a really
Yeah,
weird
which one
texture.
was it that I saw was similar to that, but like a reddish brown? Um, it's either the Zellers or the what's the other one? Dang it, I can't remember. They're both very similar looking, but they're also both I think saprobic. I think they both consume wood, but one of them stains blue and is larger. I can't remember. Did you see that one I sent you the picture of that I scratched in tree digs?
Yeah.
Do you know, is that an edible or is that one that can actually be cultivated? Because that was growing out of wood.
Again, it might be the case where it's like getting it's just like fruiting off the wood. It may not necessarily be getting its nutrients from the wood. But I really hate blue staining boletes that look like that, specifically because when you're identifying what isn't safe and what is safe, it's about timing. How fast does it bruise?
Right.
And in my mind, I'm always like, I've seen so many phenotypes that break rules. I've seen so many phenotypes that break rule. Like, you know what I mean? If a lion's mane can fruit at 103 degrees, who's to say this one toxic phenotype cannot bruise a little faster?
Right.
And so I don't play games with those like that because they won't kill you, but you'll wish you were dead on the toilet.
Right. Right. Oh, and a lot of them just don't even taste good. They'll be so strongly peppery or bitter, that you won't even want to.
Well, yeah, that's a lot of people think it's crazy, but that's one of the biggest tools in a forager's arsenal. Is literally one of the first things I do is take a little nibble out of it. I don't swallow, but I chew it up, and if it's acrid or overly peppery,
Right. Yeah, like you smell it. You like if it smells repulsive or phenolic, like it
yeah.
makes you choke like menthol, it's probably not something you want to eat. And then you test it, put it on your lip.
Have you ever found those white milk caps before?
I probably have, but I haven't specifically.
That's like a forager rite of passage almost. Um, People keep wanting to eat milk caps, and there's only a couple that are really choice edibles. And so it's a thing. There's one called Lactarius piperatus, and it is so spicy. It's like you could do like a video on it and get reactions, that kind of thing, because
Uh,
you do actually have a reaction to it. Yeah, exactly. There's you make a couple faces, and it's incredibly. I don't know. It soaks in, if that makes sense.
weird,
Um,
like sticks to you.
like you can wash your mouth out, and you're like, it's still there. Well, it's unlike any hot you've ever experienced.
Huh. Yeah, like the ones that I've done that I didn't like that were noted as peppery. It was like a weird chemical thing. It wasn't like pepper. It's kind of like when
Yeah.
people here weed's legal. You get concentrate and you get a big burst of some really strong stuff. They'll be like, "Oh, that's peppery." Doesn't really taste like pepper, but it burns the shit out your mouth, and it's kind of
Yeah.
different. So you're like, "Ah, that's peppery."
Yeah, that's the word that I use for is acrid. It's just like
Okay.
a tastes like it came out of a bleach bucket or something.
Right, yeah, just some sort of weird chemical smell or something, yeah.
Yeah. If I'm being honest, it reminds me of the cleaner that used to work in a little restaurant, and we had a nice little short Mexican lady that would mix up cleaners. And we liked her cleaner, but we were like, don't mix it here, mix it somewhere else.
Yeah. Specifically ammonia and bleach. Do not
Yeah, but
please mix those.
I swear to God, dude, the cleaner that she made, you could probably like shine coal with it.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. That's like those Mr. Clean magic erasers. Like, what's so magic in there? How does this little foam thingy take that off? Like, I
Yeah.
don't care so much because it's awesome, but what do they have to mix to make that happen? And should I be wearing gloves?
Yeah, probably. I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah. Well, I think our next subject should be to kind of talk about what we want to do with the show. Like I think this is really a good example of the vibe we kind of want to promote, or at least that I feel we do. I know you probably have your own ideas, and that's what we kind of got to figure out. But I put my fire in the background because we kind of talked about it, and we just kind of want to get the feel like we're just hanging around the campfire, maybe having a drink and hanging out, even though we've got nothing in our hands here.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
I'm
drink very much.
yeah, I don't really either. Like I think I have like a 6-year-old beer in the fridge. Uh,
Oh, now me.
yeah, just never drank it. Every once in a while I'll have some whiskey, but nah,
We'll call that a Florkin beer. I see that
yeah,
on your little
flirking
tag.
beer. Oh yeah, I already forgot that I put that at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, I've been reading it here back and forth.
But yeah, man, I do want it to be more like a shoot the shit kind of thing. I like interviewing people, and I like learning stuff about them. Um, I want to be, I guess, less formal, if that makes sense. You know what I
Right,
mean? Have some kind of idea of structure, but I want the people to not feel like they're at a job. You know what I
right,
mean? Like you're not being called in for an audition or a job or anything. You're just hanging out with some dudes that do similar stuff to you, and
right. We just happen to be recording it, and
yeah,
got decent equipment for that, or try to have it.
yeah. And I think the more that we do that, and the less that we try to make it something, it'll become something of its own. It'll take on its own life, and the more people we talk to as well, because we've got to diversify some too. We've been
Yeah,
sticking a lot to the active community. I'm gonna try to bring in some other people.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's true, and I can reach across to some good people as well.
yeah,
That my buddy that I sent you to, Ryan Palmer, he lives near me, so we could actually do a true sit down interview, and then have you on video, and that would be kind of cool.
that it would be great if you could do something like have him on a screen, and then him like turn his screen off. And
Walk over,
yeah,
sit next to me, like, "What's up, buddy?"
yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, Ryan's a good dude, and I think there's a lot of folks like that in thinking about it, that we can find between us that we've met over the years.
Ryan especially. Like I do want to speak on him for a minute. I've seen. I'm not gonna say any names because I don't want to start drama. But I've seen people that are really shunned in the community, that have really been kind of looked down upon and spoken down to, and kind of not people haven't been kind to certain people, and I've seen Ryan go out of his way to be kind to those people and make sure they feel welcome and make sure they, feel like they do have a place, even if it's not among those people that were being so unkind.
Right.
I
In
really,
fact,
really respect him.
didn't he introduce you to me? Didn't we talk
Yes, yeah, yeah.
originally? Yeah.
I don't remember the question I asked him, but I asked him something, and he was just like, "Yeah, I know the guy. I know the right guy. Tree digs." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And
Weird
that's
name, but good answers.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He introduced me to you, and there was like one other person, but I don't remember who it was. And then you introduced me to Madden, and it became a whole. There's a whole group that I know now.
Right. Well, we just got to get the time and get to recording more episodes. I think we got Myco Cat and Digimike on the line, both
Yeah,
coming in hopefully. So
just got to
get
set a time with Digi. He said he's down. He was like, I love that dude so much because as soon as I asked him, he was like, "Oh yeah, I need to go buy a mic and I need to get like this and that." And I was like,
hell
"Bro,
yeah,
I use my phone. I'm not gonna lie to you."
getting
And
excited
he
though.
was like, "You're right. You're right."
I just wonder, how the internet connection will work. I've played with folks in the UK on video games, and I've played with folks in China. So, I mean, as long as he's got a healthy connection, we should be just fine.
I've video chatted with him specifically before. I'll tell you a little more about that later, but it's it for all that I've seen, it's done pretty well.
Sweet. Oh, I'm excited, man. It's originally when we first started this thing, I was kind of skeptical, and I wasn't sure if it was the right thing to do, just because getting in the public face, it seems like we're just natural and good at it sometimes with all the shit we do, but reality is every one of these steps where we show more of our lives is really, really stressful and full of anxiety. And I'm glad that it's gone well and that we've been received well. And we just gotta keep at it.
Yeah, man, and a lot of it's just relaxing on camera. Like there's some days that I'm literally just, I kind of automatically go into that what do you call it? Retail, like your retail personality. We're just,
Right, right.
hello, good evening. How's
Public
everyone?
face.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I have a bad habit of doing that. So I'm working on kind of actually bringing myself to the table instead of um what I would be at like working at Walmart or something.
Right. Well, and I feel the same. Like, I feel like I do kind of censor myself a little bit in the Myco community, not to really because I'm trying to hide anything, but because you got a lot of folks that are there to heal, and they're all on the edge for one reason or another, and it's just easier not to put a lot of things out there that are potentially controversial or offensive, and so it's easy to just hold tight to that and keep that anxiety in your chest. And I think we're starting to relax and just be like, whatever, we're just gonna hang out. Now we just need to figure out how to promote that to our guests.
Yeah, exactly. You need to kind of be able to make them feel safe, I guess, and welcome. But I think the more we interview people we know better, that's probably going to be more our bread and butter than,
Yeah.
necessarily going for like, if we tried to interview like Wombat or something, it'd be a little more strenuous.
Right. Yeah, because we don't really know them, and I think maybe what we do is we sit down and make them come in 15 minutes early or something, and we're not recording during that whole 15 minutes. We just bullshit, and just be like, oh,
Yeah.
this is exactly what the show is going to be. We're just going to record it, so
Yeah. Or even like come in 15 minutes and just tell them, okay, we're not going to give you a warning when it starts recording. Like as of
right.
now, at some point, it's going to start recording, and then just let the conversation flow. If we don't interrupt it, then we can have a natural progression, and then edit in the, intro afterwards.
Right.
That might be a key. We could
Yeah.
try a couple of things.
Yeah, definitely so. I think that's gonna be key is experimenting and see, how they get watched and doing pretty good. I mean, I never really got a ton of views on my, YouTube videos, but we had like 200 for last week. Doesn't sound like much, but, starting out at 1 week, that's not bad,
Yeah,
so
no, that's not bad at all. I didn't even realize the number was that high. So
oh,
more than
yeah,
like our
Geeky
four
was,
friends.
470, so, yeah, well, we might
Huh.
actually get a little bit of traction here, we'll see.
Interesting.
Yeah. Don't be getting yourself nervous now.
Nah, no, I'm just thinking about it.
I'm
Uh,
already relaxed.
I'm
It's
pretty
like I
relaxed.
said, I felt uptight before too, and I think we're just getting in our groove. We're just starting to find it.
Yeah, and that was one reason I wanted to do one, just me and you again. It's just like, okay, we've done a couple. Let's see where we're at, kind of thing.
Right. Well, the first one was me and you, and that was the exhibit of how nervous it made us initially. So,
Yeah, yeah, but I also think it's important to leave stuff like that around. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
eventually, if this does take off, it's going to be a thing that they can go back and look and be like, oh, they're successful now, but look how far. Like,
Right. Well, originally, that's what motivated me was, I would get spoken to by folks in the community buying products and I'd help them out and they'd like, oh, well, it's so awesome. It's so great. And, we're able to get out here and just kind of talk to them and show them that, well, we're just like you. We're just slowly putting ourselves out there more and more. And it turns out that being ourselves is what we need to do to heal ourselves. And each one of these steps that we do, that puts our public self out there further and further, I think, at least for me, it makes me healthier overall and I can kind of breathe a little easier.
yeah, definitely. And it's kind of nice to be known in some, at least in some way.
Yeah. Yeah, feels like having friends, and a lot of us take that for granted until we have very few, and then we're like, "Oh, friends
Oops.
were good
Yeah.
sometimes."
Yeah, I struggle with that out in the mountains, man. I become a hermit during the winter. As soon as the sun hides.
Yeah, I know we're dealing with that here too this year. It's just like this time of year, man. But you've seen the pretty pictures I found. I think I got to focus on those more and focus on the beauty throughout the bleak days.
Yeah, and I go and literally like just camp on my property to reset my rhythm and everything, and that helps a lot too. Like to
Oh
get up with the sun and go down with the sun kind of thing.
yeah. Of course, you might be getting lots of sleep come December.
Yeah, it does, especially dude, right now, what time does it get dark there right now? Like
I
you're
think we're about 5:30.
5:30?
Yeah,
Okay, so that would be oh, okay. That's strangely close to around the time it gets dark here.
yeah.
It's,
So we
yeah,
probably live about the same distance into our time zones. Is what it
yeah.
sounds like.
It's but it's messed up because it's so much earlier in our day. Here it's like 5:30, 5:45, a little bit before 6. We're like not even having eaten yet, and it's already getting dark out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I typically don't eat until around 7, so it's it's kind of disorienting. It seems like this time of year the days get shorter faster. It's like it speeds up how short they get. But
Yeah, I got to be careful foraging too, because you'll be out at 3 o'clock and be like, "Oh, I don't have time to take the 3 hour hike home."
yeah, yeah, we kind of ran into the same thing this week hunting.
Oh
My
yeah.
dad, he's an older gentleman. He's like 72, and so we get out there, we don't want to get an animal in the bottom of the canyon and have to spend the whole night getting the damn thing out, you know.
Yeah.
Too old for this shit.
He still hunted 72. Good on him.
I know. That's in fact he got two deer this year, so he tagged out. He did real good, and we'll see. Maybe we'll get him an elk too. Yeah, you know my dad specifically. He likes to think he's not all that well off, like as far as physically being able to do stuff. But like you say, at 72, he's not just getting out there and hunting. Like he's not crawling up in a tree stand and sitting there all day. We're out pushing the brush and walking up and down steep ass canyons and stuff just to try and find an animal. So
Actively tracking. Yeah.
yeah, we just don't have the sit down and watch gene. You know, like I think some people have a little bit of genetic memory, and I think that our line specifically it goes back to the Chickasaw Indians, but also to more European hunters. But we just we're the spot and stalkers. Like I could tell you right now that like if I could do anything that would give me pleasure my entire life. Like I could just feed people by hunting and that would please me
Yeah.
endlessly.
I haven't done it in a little while, but it's like I don't want to do it on my own either. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just I could probably go bow hunting by myself, but I don't want to have a firearm out by myself in the woods personally.
Yeah. Well, it's different, I think for me, I grew up hunting with my dad and we would always go together. But we had my brothers and other family and they just slowly kind of went off, did their own thing, and it ended up just being me and my dad. And my dad doesn't always want to go in the brush or hike up a hill 5 miles.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing a lot of it on my own. I even one year got like about 5 or 6 miles into the wilderness, and I was deer hunting, butt crack of dawn, and I just been facing north the whole time. I shot a deer. I went down there and found it,
Mhm.
and getting ready to get it all cut up. And sure as shit, I look behind me, and there's like this mushroom cloud of smoke, like where my truck is, like where to get out of the wilderness. And a forest fire had started, and it had started like a mile away from where my truck was, and it was coming towards. It looked like it was coming towards me, so I ended up packing that whole deer up. I boned it out, took everything out, the antlers, all the meat, everything. Yeah, I had a pack. I estimated that pack with all of my camp and everything was 160 to 190 pounds. I don't know how the thing held it, like, but anyhow, I got out of there. It's good times.
Yeah. One thing you can probably appreciate when I'm teaching people to forage, one of the things they keep asking me is like, how do you move through the woods? Like you're off path. How are you moving through the woods like that? And I'm like, I'm walking a deer trail. Can you not see it? And
Yes,
most of the time they're like, no, I don't see a path. I'm like, look straight down this. And they'll
right.
put their head level. Oh yeah, there's the path there.
Yeah, it's a pattern recognition, much like why I think probably why we're both good at foraging, but definitely tracking. Like I've talked to people that have gone to classes, or they've watched online seminars and they're like, "Hey man, I can track ants across gravel." Like, okay, cool. Can you find a game trail? Okay, how are you gonna track if you can't find tracks, bro?
Yeah.
But yeah, you'll go out there and heck, you even see little like marmot trails, little rabbit trails, that are just the size of the palm of your hand, and they're making their own little paths, and you start seeing
Mm.
those.
Little tunnels in the grass and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, you should have seen the tunnels through the trees we were going through last week. I found what I thought was this super honey hole, and it is. But it's basically all these 20-foot tall Douglas fir trees that in the center of them is just Blackberry City. And the deer have tunneled into it. And in the center, it's all flat and laid down. And they got these beds and they're just out in the wide open, sunning themselves, and nobody can get in there. So we crawled through those tunnels trying to get to them. They were not in those beds that day, but we did find the blackberry bushes, lots of them.
Yeah, man, that's another. There's so many berries out there that people don't talk about.
Yeah,
Whew.
good and bad.
Yeah, I'm getting obsessed with. There's one called a service berry, and
Oh
it's
yeah, they grow here all
delicious.
over. I could send you 20 pounds of it at the in the summer.
Well, we actually have pretty good luck selling those in Atlanta. Hold on one second.
Yeah, so I've noticed that they grow up here in the mountain ranges, specifically in the burnt zones. But most people here just kind of group them all together and call them huckleberries, even though the service berry grows different than a huckleberry. Um, the huckleberries, I believe, grow upside down, and the service berries go right side up. So I could be wrong. It could be backwards. I can never remember. But anyhow, the service berries are more. They're like a large, like a super large blueberry huckleberry hybrid, and they're really, really damn good around here.
Huh? We must have a different one then, because the service berries we get grow on trees.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I suppose it could be a tree eventually,
Yeah.
uh, but I'll bet you that it's the super large blueberries like we've seen. They grow like giant blueberries.
Yeah, they're most of the time I find them in Atlanta, but they're only around for a couple of weeks a year.
I wonder if it's like everything else, where it's a common name, and that it refers to a specific species in a specific region only.
Yeah, there's been that's another thing that's been a big upset in the mycology community lately. There's the whole big fight about common names going on right now, and
Yeah, I know. I get corrected actually. I had fun with Ryan Palmer. He corrected me the other day. But I just get so fed up with the changes. By the time I fucking learn something, oh hey, no, 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 that's not in the bolete family. In fact, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna completely remove Boletus, and we're just gonna go ahead and call it this for a while.
are you talking about the frosty bolete? Because I feel like that's what you're talking about.
Well, I think a while back they took a whole bunch of them and they weren't even boletes anymore. They were something else. I don't remember, but
Yeah.
it's like you're saying, earlier. I can't remember which one you were describing, but you're like, oh, hey, it's this. Oh, wait, no, they changed it to this, and it's just we're in a point of transition because they can take DNA and say, no, we were wrong. This is actually from this other genus entirely. It just happens to have all the same characteristics of this one.
Yeah, we've got that. And then for some reason, I don't know why they're pushing to name anything that exists both in Europe and America, give its own American name. Like
Hmm.
even stuff that's genetically the same, they're trying to give separate.
Europa and Americana, huh?
Yeah, like the fistulina I was talking about as well. It's hepatica in Europe, and here it's Americana. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like everything else. We measure in inches and miles, and they measure in centimeters and kilometers. I don't know what the theory is there. Maybe we thought bigger was better.
I'm not sure, but I think at some point it became like, okay, we're gonna have to pay for a lot of replacement signs if we switch at this
Oh
point.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and retraining people. I
Yeah,
mean, good luck with that.
speeding becomes a completely different speed. Like 60 miles per hour
Right.
is no longer acceptable. You know what I mean? Like it'll all just, oh, no, thank you.
Brain overload. Yeah. I know they did something like that recently where they just changed the wording on all the signs locally, and I just thought like, why did you guys spend what was probably millions of dollars changing the wording on the signs across the state? Were there people that like didn't understand? It was something stupid like you can pull up to a stop sign and take a turn without stopping. So it said right turn permitted without stopping.
Yeah.
Now it says something like stop except for right turn. And they replaced all the signs in the entire state. And every stop sign that you can do that. And any stop sign in a rural location, you can pretty much do
That's wild, dude.
that.
But then again, my entire town freaked out when they put a roundabout in. And everybody's like,
Oh yeah.
"What?"
What is this European stuff? You're Hollywoodized.
So
Yeah, we've got a bunch of them here,
we only have
unfortunately.
in the I'm not going to say the actual town I live in, but yeah, we just got our first one, and I'm like, oh, okay.
They do kind of work, but I think they probably work better in Europe because not everyone in Europe is an asshole. And here in the US, everyone seems to be an asshole when you're on the road and you're like, okay, if everybody just lets everybody in and functions right, this will be fine. Like, no, no, no. Okay, so I'm trying to get in here and you're like, nope, sorry, I got to be first.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I said because people wrecked within the first week of it being here, and they were like, "Oh, this is so stupid, stupid roundabout." I was like, "You're misunderstanding. The people are stupid, not the
And that's a
roundabout."
one layer roundabout or one lane. Imagine a 3 or 4 lane roundabout like they have
No,
in Europe.
no, I'm not even gonna try because they would park. They would literally the people in my town would just put it in park and be
It'd be
like,
like, what do I
"Not
do?
today."
What is the center for? Why is there a center? Why do I have to cross 3 lanes of traffic just to cross it again?
And in the center, it's just Cotton Eye Joe going crazy.
And you just got like the ice cream truck and the hot dog truck just circling.
And a single NASCAR.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
I
Maybe
want,
a Flintstones NASCAR where they've got a hole in the bottom and they're pedaling.
oh, that'd be funny.
Uh, well, I think I'm about tuckered out. I don't know about you. I'm ready to
Yeah, I'm
get to
getting there.
bed. So I think we'll go ahead and cut this one off and say it was a good brainstorming and chit chat session. And hopefully you folks at home enjoy it. Let us know. Sir Andrew, have a good night.
You too, man.